So you've just learned a ton about tagging your site with Google Analytics and what are all the different examples and third-party features that you can really learn more about and push into analytics and use for your optimization program. Now we're going to start diving into marketing tags. We're going to look at our pre-built tags, custom HTML tags, custom templates. We'll eventually move to AdWords and Facebook tags. But for this episode, I'm going to focus on pre-built tags that come out of the box in Google Tag Manager. One thing to note is the pre-built tags as we know them today are really becoming a close cousin to our templates. Templates have a pre-built library as well. I'm going to go through templates as we really see the industry and Google moving in the direction of templates over time, which you'll learn a little bit. You can see a few examples that we have set up here. So tags. What are pre-built tags? When you log into your Google Tag Manager account, you're going to have your overview and then ultimately your tags, triggers, and variables that we've seen quite a bit so far. If you are wanting to add a new tag, you don't necessarily need to start from scratch. Google has done a great job over the last couple of years of bringing in new third-party partners and making their site-wide script and all of the requirements for variables, etc., that those third parties ultimately need sent back to their site. They've pulled that in to pre-built tags that are available to make the process of you implementing a new marketing pixel, not just a site-wide tag, but all of the potential custom events like viewing a product, adding to cart, etc., making that process really fast. So when we are looking at a new tag type, you'll see we have our featured section, which is going to contain all of our Google pre-built tags. So what we've looked at already a few times here is our Google Analytics Universal Analytics tag. You can see this is a pre-built tag. We have the different track types of page view or event or transaction. And really the only thing that you would need to do here is just set the variable for a page view tag and set the trigger, and you're on your way. The same would go for AdWords, which we're going to go through in a little bit here, going through our AdWords tracking, Google Ads remarketing. So the remarketing pre-built tag that exists in Google Tag Manager, there's a couple of variables here. There are some options to customize this pre-built tag. So for example, if you wanted to manually specify a parameter for a remarketing tag, you would do so here. Again, I'm going to not go too deep into the Google Ads tagging as we're going to go through that in its own episode. And then the last couple here would be Floodlight pre-built tags, Google Optimize, and the conversion linker. So these are all the featured pre-built tags that Google has that, again, makes it very easy to get their own properties up and running. But then we have some others. So if we just start scrolling down a list here, you'll see some of the other pre-built tags. So let's say that you signed up for Hotjar, which is a very common heat mapping tool, and their onboarding process gives you a script, so a site-wide script. They're like, hey, grab the script, go find a developer or copy it into the top of your head on every page of your site. When that's done, come back and we'll test and validate to see if the script is firing. So with Hotjar being part of Google Tag Manager, if you already have Google Tag Manager running on your site, then all you need to do here is select the tag type of Hotjar, grab your Hotjar ID, your site ID, enter that here, add your trigger. So in this case, if I want to just add a all pages trigger, I can do that. So this is probably one of the more basic tag types. And you have the same options that we've looked at before with tag firing priority. So if you wanted this tag to fire higher on the page, you can do that. And you can set other custom sequencing and tag firing options on this. So now if I just went ahead and hit save our Hotjar site-wide script. And if we pop over here to our test store, and we're going to put GTM into preview mode here. And at this point, Hotjar does not exist in my account. So you can see we just created this Hotjar site-wide tag a few seconds ago. And now with GTM in preview mode, we'll go back to our site, reload the page, And you can see with GTM debug, we now have Hotjar firing on every page. So if I navigate to another page, you'll see that we have Hotjar executing just as we'd expect. So you can see super simple, grabbed Hotjar, entered my site ID, and I'm off to the races. Another example would be Twitter. So if you wanted to add if you were starting marketing on Twitter, then we can add a Twitter tag. So again, we can scroll down just to see all of the different options here. And you'll see other common marketing channels like Pinterest, Quora, and now we finally get down to Twitter. So this is a pre-built tag that is a little bit more complex than what we looked at with Hotjar. Let's rewind to the tags, triggers, and variables episode where I talked through, really it's not, you don't think about the tag first and then the trigger, then the variable, where we think about a variable needs to exist. That's really the foundation. And then we have triggers that are ultimately using those variables. So the example we talked about was product page view. So a product page view is firing based either on a page URL that has products in the URL or a custom event like product detail view event. And then from there, then we have the tag, where the tag is being assigned to a view content, which would be a product view. And then we're also adding in additional parameters that are variables. So if you've done the work already of configuring your store with a very robust data layer, plug for our Shopify GTM Suite app, of course, then you have the majority of the variables that you're going to need for your store and ultimately plugging into these marketing tags. So you have your variables, and then you have your triggers. So if you have either imported our container that contains the tags, triggers, and variables, you're going to have the triggers and the variables already created for you inside your Google Tag Manager account. And when they are there, or if you've created them on your own, if you have your own data layer as well, that's fine too. But if your variables already exist and you have the requirement of implementing Twitter and the different events that go with a Twitter tag, now all you have to do is in your event parameter, select what parameter you want to associate to this tag. So let's say this is a product view. So we'll do the content IDs, which is the product IDs associated with a purchase, but this, in Twitter's case, this can also be used for product views, product page views. And then here, we're just going to do our lookup for our variable. So we'll just scroll down to our product view, and now we have SKU, the SKU variable associated to our content ID parameter name after we entered our pixel ID. The only other thing that I would have to do here is add our product detail view trigger. So we have a product detail view trigger. We have an example of a parameter here, which is associated to a variable. So let's look at purchase. So if we wanted to add a purchase, we can look at, so we have value of the purchase. Our event parameter here is going to be our revenue. So we have our thank you page revenue. We'll add another one. We'll do our order ID. So now we have a Twitter purchase tag with our pixel ID, 3 parameters. We can change this trigger to our transaction complete. That's it. So now that I've saved this, what I like to do generally is probably not start with purchase first, but you can go into a pre-built tag, click copy, and let's just make a copy, and we'll do the product view. So Twitter product view. Our tag event is going to be view content. I'm going to delete the value and order ID and just leave our content IDs, change our trigger. There we go. So now we have our Twitter product view. tag type Twitter, pixel ID. Again, you can turn this into a variable. So if you put your Twitter pixel ID into a constant variable type, then you can just set this variable on every one. So if you wanted to create a new Twitter ID, we'll do our variable configuration, do our constant. So now we've made this even more foolproof, where we can just change the variable, the Twitter ID once in a variable if this is set in all of our different pre-built tags. So that's a very easy way if, again, you start with a foundation, you have your data layer built, you have your set of triggers. So your common triggers are going to be like your product view and your add to carts and all of that. And then you need to implement a marketing tag. Chances are it could exist as a pre-built tag that you can just add, and you don't have to go through the legwork of grabbing the script and then swapping out the script. And then once you're done, you can go through the same process that you'd go through with the behavior event tracking. Is you can just refresh, and we'll go over to the front end. And you can see no Twitter tag here, which is what I expect. And if we go to a product page here, you'll see we have our Twitter product view. And you can see our SKU has made its way into the event parameters. I love pre-built tags. Many of our library of GTM recipes utilize pre-built tags. Makes things very fast. It's going to be a transition to custom templates, which I'll go through momentarily. But if you have 10 marketing tags that need to be implemented on your site, chances are 5 or 6 out of those 10 likely exist in a pre-built tag that's going to make that process even faster for you to get up and running, assign the variables, have all of the right triggers, have full coverage of all of your custom events, and then really minimize that process of having to go back and forth to make sure that the tag has the right script and is the latest, and really save you from that headache. So we're going to talk a little bit more about custom HTML tags, custom images, and custom templates as we continue going deeper into our marketing tag management in GTM.